What do you do with big data? Having access to the information we're continuously creating is like owning a gold mine with no equipment to dig it. Big data means nothing without its large-scale data analytics.
There's been a traditional story of big data as this black box, this machine that you hit a button and it processes it and it spits out an answer. The reality is that's so far away from where we are today, and it may never come to that place. We can do that for simple things like what's the right color blue to have on the links that you click in Google, or what's the what's the best price to put laundry detergent in the supermarket. But we don't by any means have something that can generate an idea for you. We try and design a place where the humans can interact with all that information and start to come up with their own questions and their own answers. But we're not in the business of giving them answers.
The key is to filter the noise. And it's certainly not an easy task. It cannot be done anymore with human effort. That's the big news. We have to rely on computing efforts, and we have to rely on modern ways of mining data and applying modern algorithms to process the data.
Some people have already managed to deal with the big data in a successful way. The University of California and the LAPD are using big data to foresee crime before it even happens. Analysts at MIT are using mobile phone data to establish how people's locations and traffic patterns can better urban planning. A more obvious example of big data being put to use is Google and its search engine algorithm.
They base their algorithm in an academic notion that is very common in academia, that is reputation. That logic was applied to filter the web, to filter the millions and millions of web pages that we navigate every day. And that same concept they applied to their own algorithm in order to filter the results of the Google searches that we do every single day. So being able to reduce the noise from the signal is being able to know what has a greater reputation or what has a greater impact, a greater influence, and understanding who are the key opinion formers or who are the influencers, or what is the content of a message that really makes people tick.
Amazon also uses algorithms to mine huge piles of information to figure out the best design of the web page for you personally.
So the impact of recommendation algorithms is very big. In the case of Amazon, the most effective one is collaborative filtering. They are basically tapping into the collective intelligence, detecting the patterns of every single user that connects through Amazon, and basically they tell you, the person that bought this book, you might also be interested in buying these other books, because they know that other consumers came before you, and usually the one who buys this tries to buy this other one related book. While when you get that huge amount of data and the amount of users that Amazon gets, applying that very simple algorithm has a very deep impact in terms of improving the quality of the experience of buying online, the bottom line for Amazon in terms of revenue.
For marketing businesses, big data is the fundamental outcome of the new marketing landscape, born from the digital world we now live in. Out with the old, in with the new.
Traditional ways of understanding your market was to do a market research survey, or you could do a focus group, and you can have 20 people in a room in a headset camera being interviewed and ask them questions. But that is a very slow-paced process. It takes many months, it's very costly, and the sample is always biased because they are aware that you are actually asking them questions, and there's always hidden factors that will contaminate the results of the survey or of the work.
Right now, what we traditionally do is we measure the effectiveness of our campaigns. We measure how good a television commercial works. We measure our effectiveness constantly, and we come back and we look at what works, what doesn't work, and how do we adjust. The challenge is the consumer never stands still. Their tastes, their interests, their likes are constantly moving, right? So even though we're getting feedback from the research, the target moves. So it's a combination of learning what worked and what didn't work, and trying to predict where the consumer's mind is going and what is interesting and what's not interesting. That's the challenge.
It's quite clear that we're going to get, if we apply big data algorithms and very efficient techniques to mine that data, to understand the meaning out of that huge piles of data that consumers are generating daily, that we are going to get a high definition picture or even a high definition movie about our consumers being updated in real time.
I mean, big data is kind of a new thing, but I think we're at the very beginning of a new era where I think the chief marketing officer and the chief information officer within a company are going to be spending a lot more time together. Because of the capability that big data will bring, the ability to have much more in-depth analytical capability about everything you're doing is very intriguing to us as marketers. It's technically still challenging, but I definitely see a convergence between information technology and marketing that 5 years ago we didn't think about.
Big data's influence doesn't stop there. It can even direct the actions of entire countries.
We can do a lot of that stuff now with computers, so that instead of sitting down and reading thousands of articles every day, you can log into the computer and have an experience that's pretty much like the cognitive map of an expert, but you can effectively upload that into your brain. I can log in and get thousands of documents about scientific disciplines, about patents, about news articles, about government filings, and I can know within the space of an hour the landscape, how it's evolved, the major players, the relationships, and I can kind of ask questions and see nuance within that at a level that's commensurate with what an expert would have.
Imagine the ability to almost instantly become an expert on any subject. The questions you could answer know no boundaries.
Which company do I buy? You know, what's happening in China? Or what should my message be around climate change for the youth in India? So quite complex, difficult questions, you know, that could range from, you know, how do you change ideology in Syria, through to, you know, how do you purchase the right mobile telecommunications company to enhance my banking experience in Argentina.
Coming up, we'll be looking into more of the repercussions of big data and finding out what issues of privacy come from being able to tap into every aspect of our online behavior.